Welcome back to J of All Trades. Everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you have a sump pump that runs all winter long and you're wondering what to do about it, and your drain hose freezes up and you have ice buildup along the side of your house that wrecks your parging and your stucco, you're going to want to watch this video. Stay tuned. In the scenario we have here, the builder has had no choice but to have each sump drain come out of these two houses to the same area. Normally you'll have one on one side, and then this drain on this house would be on the opposite side. But if you got a situation like this, basically what we were faced with is whether you put a piece of plywood off your sump pump to slope it or not, water pooling up in the center, slowly building up into really a huge ice dam that can not only damage your parging, but you're risking some damage to the foundation. You can see back here, there's already been some heaving and shifting to the fence and the gate area, and these are 6x6 posts. You can see the moisture in the ground, and as this freezes up over the winter, it just gets worse and worse. So we needed to come up with a system to basically prevent this and combat the freeze up. So let me show you what we did. When you go to the box store, they're going to give you a piece of weeping towel like this. It's also called Big O, and this is flexible. This has a bunch of ridges in it. It is a solid pipe, but it's not straight enough to flow water properly. And when water gets stuck in these little crevices here in the creases of the pipe, it freezes up and it builds up and it builds up, and all of a sudden you've got a 4-inch pipe that's a frozen block of ice. So this doesn't do the trick, and it does not get you through winter. Let me show you what I've come up with and has worked a couple of winters already flawlessly. What you want to get is a solid 3-inch pipe. This is called IPEX. It's basically sewer pipe, but it's smooth inside, it's rigid, and it doesn't flex. So the key to this is this rigid pipe, but also having a proper angle on the pipe as it drains away from your sump discharge. The water coming out of your sump pit in the basement is coming out warm, and it flows quite quick. We'll show you at the end of the video water flowing from this pipe. As long as you have a proper angle on your pipe, it'll discharge quickly. It won't freeze up in this style of pipe, and it'll just continue to drain all winter long. So let's go over the material quick that you'll need for this. It's fairly inexpensive. You can get this at your local hardware store. All the big box stores carry them. The key to this setup is these things called fernco fittings. Basically a rubber coupler. They come in all sizes. In this case, we have a 2-inch to 3-inch reducer, and we have a 3x3 to connect our sections of pipe together. Now you'll take a look at this sewer pipe, and it actually has a bell end on it, so these pipes will slide into one another. But I find the fernco, the rubber coupler, just gives you that little bit of adjustability. It gives you the right angle coming off your sump drain on your house, and just the ability to not have these sections freeze together and crack using these rubber couplings. Typically coming out of your sump drain, out of your foundation, you'll have an 1.5-inch PVC pipe, and it'll probably go to a 45 to a hose barb fitting, and it'll basically come down into this hose. That wasn't going to work for what we're trying to do with the rigid pipe here in this drain system. We had to extend this and get it away from the house. So what I've done here, as you can see, I've got a 1.5-inch to 1.5-inch coupler going to an extension of PVC pipe, and then we're going into a 90 elbow instead of the 45 and the barb fitting. So the extension piece was very helpful in getting this far enough away from the foundation of this house. So once we figured out the distance away from the house that was going to work with the bigger, the rigid drain pipe, we had to come up with a system to simply switch it over from summer to winter service. So what we did was basically took the same adapter that would thread into the elbow on the house, and we've enlarged that from 1.5 to 2 inch, you'll see here, with a little bushing. That way this bushing goes straight into the fernco fitting. You tighten this clamp and you've gone now from 1.5 to 2 inch to your 3 inch discharge. So this little setup right here, basically tighten this clamp, and this is the first piece you attach when you're switching to your winter system. I'm gonna get this hose out of the way, and I'm gonna show you one other thing that I did just to make this sort of a plug and play system. So get your hose undone, get all the moisture or even ice drained out of it, wrap it up and put it away for the winter season. And then you simply thread out this barb fitting, female to male barb. And if you take a close look here, this is the one barb for the summer hose. I've got the same threaded fitting on the 2 to 3 inch adapter. On the 90, on your street 90, all I did was glue in an adapter to give you the female threads. So once we take out our summer adapter, we basically take our winter setup with the same fitting on it and thread this right into the elbow. I've got some Teflon tape on here just to make sure it's a good seal. Put that summer fitting away. So then we thread that on, we tighten up our clamp, and what we've done is we've extended the run with a coupler. We've gone to a 90 that is on an angle towards the front of the house, and we've got our 1.5 to 2 inch bushing into the fernco, and now we're ready to set up our 3 inch pipe. So this pipe is fairly light, and again, it's not going to have a lot of weight in it for a long period of time. This water is going to drain out quite quickly, so the pipe just has to sort of hang there. But that being said, we do have some blocking in the setup. But what I did was I grabbed a piece of all-round, or just basically steel strapping, that you can put together with a nut and bolt. And luckily the gas meter was nearby, so we were able to just tie it off to the gas meter just to give it a little bit of support. Just going to loosen this clamp off from last year. I start with the bell end, and this basically goes into the fernco, and it just slides right in. It's nice and snug, and we tighten our clamp. Actually, we're going to leave this knot tight. We're going to set up the rest of this first. So we got our first length loosely fit into the coupling, and I just happen to have chunks of 6x6 fence posts laying around. You can use a cinder block, whatever material you have handy, just as long as it's fairly solid. Once it freezes up, it's really not going anywhere. But we're gonna just simply place this under our drain pipe, and as you can see, we just have a nice gradual angle, and the consistent angle is what's key here. It's going to keep the water moving. So now we're ready to set up our next length to get us past the front of the house, draining down the grade out into the yard. So now we've got our 3x3 coupler, or fernco fitting, and this is going to be to basically to extend our 3 inch rigid pipe. So slide it on here, kind of put it in the middle of the coupler, bring your next piece in, push the two together. This is lined up pretty good. We're going to tighten up these clamps. To tighten up these worm gear clamps, a flat blade screwdriver will work. If you don't have an impact drill, a nut driver is best. It's a 5/16 or 8mm. You don't have to make them super tight either. So now what we've done is we've extended our drain from the sump discharge out past the foundation of the house into the grade of the front yard, keeping the moisture away from the foundation and keeping the ice from building up in between two homes that's going to potentially cause damage. We have another block on the final end. I've left one of the bell ends over here. It's a touch wider. The other thing about this is it's about 6 inches off the ground, so as winter comes and we get a bit of snowfall, this sort of keeps itself clear. And actually, with the warm water coming out of here, which I'll show you, it actually melts the snow and almost stays liquid all winter long. So although there's not a lot of force and pressure on this, I took another chunk of this all round. All we're gonna do here is just put a strap over the end of this pipe, just in case somebody walks through the yard. They might kick it, they might knock it off this block. We just don't want it to be buried under the snow and form a bunch of ice. So we put our screw back in, cinch this down, and this just rests on our block, and it's nice and snug. It's not gonna really go anywhere. We check our run here, and this is a nice straight line. I will just give you a bit of a profile on the angle here, the slope away from the house. And then we just double check that we've tightened all of our fittings. This coupler here is tight. We'll just check our front end. Here I've got one clamp I left loose, just in case you got to make any adjustments. Make sure that it's in your coupler. This all-around strap it's not really supporting too much. You can see I can move the whole thing, but it's just there just in case there's any support needed. And I'm just going to tighten down our final clamp here. Switch bits. Again, not crazy tight, just snug. So yeah, basically we're ready to roll up our summer hose in this adapter, which I will put back in here. And I'll just run this clamp down so we don't lose anything during storage. Now I've heard some people say, what do I do if my discharge from my sump isn't a nice height coming out of the foundation? What if it's 3 feet high? It's basically the same system, but what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to build yourself some little supports. Real simple 2x2 lumber, just some braces across to hold that pipe. Again, you're not holding a ton of weight, but you do got to support it, because in this case, this is further back in the house. It's a longer run, so I'm going to show you how to put those supports in, and then even a higher discharge can be done this way. And in the case of these two houses, again, we're preventing all that ice buildup. And we've seen anywhere from 12 to 14 inches of ice built up in here over the winter. And as you can see, the parging and stuff like that has been broken off just from all the freeze and thaw and the shifting and movement. So we're just trying to prevent that, keep this area clean. It's a natural drain in the backyard. But I will show you how to brace for a longer run where we've got 30 feet of 3-inch pipe. Hang on a minute. How do we support this when we're up this high and we have a 30-foot long run? Well, let's keep it simple. Basically, you just put together a couple of stakes. These are cut out of 2x2s, a little bit longer because this is quite high, just with a brace across. Depending on what you have for landscaping, if you have grass, granite, if there's fabric down, a couple slits in the fabric, and just tap your pegs in. It doesn't have to be rock solid, just enough to support this pipe. Our next brace is a little bit shorter. So we've got our coupler in place, and basically it's just going to give you a little bit of support all around just to help out. Okay, we've got our braces in, and you can see how this just helps to hold things up all the way down. Now we're going to couple this together. going to connect our last section here. Utilize our support. Run the clamps down. Again, this end is fixed. Just going to put a strap over this just to be sure it's not going to walk anywhere, but it is pretty stable. We'll just double check that all of our clamps are secure. This one needs to be tightened up. So here's an example of a pretty long run with a lot more height. I've got them coming to the same point, and just to, as I said, direct the water away from this area here. A couple extra supports. That's how you handle 30 feet from a higher run. A nice steady angle all the way to the end, and that water will just run out and not freeze up, and you won't have any trouble with frozen pipes. As mentioned earlier, here's the water flow once everything's connected, and as you can see, the water flows quite quickly. No worry about anything sitting in the pipes, and it drains real fast. As you can see, nothing really left in the pipe. I'd rather clean up a little bit of landscaping in the spring than deal with 14 inches of ice in between two houses. Okay guys, that's gonna wrap this one up. Hopefully it helps some of you out there with this DIY project. This works perfect every time. 100% way to keep your sump pump running all winter and not deal with ice buildup, frozen hoses, cracked pipes, etc., etc. So appreciate y'all watching. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll catch you in the next one.